And we are back.
We're back.
I don't even know what episode this is. Is it 8?
I have no clue.
We're going to just call it the side piece. Discord edition.
I like that.
Because I don't know what episode it is. I'm going to have to look. So whatever episode this is, I believe it's 8, but it might be 9. So we'll call it episode 8, the Discord edition. And if I'm wrong, it'll be corrected in the title.
Yes.
We are moving pretty quick with that room.
Yeah, a lot faster than I expected it to go.
Yeah. The mixer came today. The chairs will be delivered tomorrow instead of in the first week of May. Painter will be here on Sunday. The guy that I'm having build that custom shelf came out today. He also said that he can probably do the light when he does the shelf, and he's probably going to do the shelf this weekend.
Oh, dope.
So if Mike comes in Sundays and paints, or on Sunday and paints, he could come in Monday and install that shelf. We could be recording in there by Tuesday.
That's crazy.
It is insane because it's like a week. We made the decision Wednesday to rip the slat walls down.
Yeah, and it's Friday.
Right.
That is quick.
Yep. Mike's will be here on Sunday.
Look at you getting things done.
Procrastination leads to failure, right? Mm-hmm. I added Canada and the United Kingdom to our shipping on the website. So for people who want to buy t-shirts, it's tobebetterco, tobebetter.co. It's expensive. It's not cheap to ship over there. It's like $38 to ship a padded envelope to Canada and the United Kingdom.
That's wild.
It's stupid is what it is, because I'm literally sending like a t-shirt or 2 t-shirts.
Yeah. I love that for you guys.
I don't have a whole lot to get into. Are we going to do more than one topic, or do you want to just do the one topic today?
Let's see where it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every topic that Discord threw out at me made me uncomfortable. So we're pushing my comfort levels today.
Okay.
Yep. I don't know how this is going to go.
Does this topic make you uncomfortable about trusting you with finances?
No, it's not. That doesn't make me uncomfortable. It's like trying to figure out how to talk about it, because we don't script any of our shit. All of our conversations are just discussions.
Yep.
And I don't know. I guess I just don't know where to begin. So I'll let you do that, because that's what we had said we were going to do before we sat down. Because this was technically your topic. And the topic was trusting him with finances. And then someone else added, or you said trusting him with finances and red flags. And somebody else said dealing with drama when there's financial problems.
So I don't know what kind of drama there would be that comes with financial issues.
You're almost every relationship has problems when the money gets tight.
But what would that drama be like?
Could be anything.
Taking the frustration out on each other?
Yeah, it could be that. It could be things that are not normally stressful situations becoming a really stressful situation because you're already stressed over finances.
Okay, I'm thinking of like a frivolous spender, and someone's like, hey, we only have $800 in the account and we have bills coming out tomorrow, and one of them goes and spends $600.
Right. Well, that falls more into your conversation.
Okay.
The second conversation from Discord is more along the lines, I think, of how do you deal with separating that, because you could not have like really your relationship could be amazing and your finances could get fucked up, and that would change the entire scenario of your relationship, the entire
dynamic,
right? Because you're especially from a standpoint of a man, like you're failing to provide, and that that's a touchy subject.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to start the conversation with, I have done the finances on my own. I did the finances while in a relationship. Like, I handled all of the money. That is one of the most stressful roles to have as an adult, is to constantly worry about finances and how am I going to meet rent? And I got cut this week. Like, my hours got cut, so I'm not getting 40 hours. I'm only getting 35 hours. The fact that you are so disciplined and you're so worried about providing that you don't frivolously spend and put us in bad situations takes so much stress off my shoulders. I don't think you understand.
I guess I don't. And I would like to point out that I do like to spend money.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Like, a lot. Because if I was to die tomorrow and I had $200,000 in the safe, that's $200,000 that I get to enjoy. The downside of that is if I don't plan accordingly and I'm spending all that money, I could fuck up my future. And I definitely don't want that. So, but, we were talking finances a little bit in the car, and I don't want to get into the exact numbers, but we've spent a lot this month in terms of paying off back debts and trying to get back on top from after the hurricane, because after the hurricane, we got caught up to zero paid off a car, and then had a lot of shortfalls for like 2 or 3 months, and like we ended up falling right back behind again.
Yeah. It's been one thing after another.
Right. But we also did a lot of stupid shit, and it's not stupid looking at it. Like in the time, it was like, did I really need to spend 14 or 15 grand on cameras? No, I really didn't, but I did it, and it ended up being worth it. But at the
Right.
time, like, it was very stupid to spend that money. Looking back on it, like, I really should have waited. I'm glad I didn't, because the podcast came of it. But I don't know. I am playing catch up now.
Yeah.
And that, for me, that stress of having debt and having like credit cards with a balance on it eats at me. It's not a good thing.
Yeah,
Like,
I can't handle that stress.
Yeah.
It's too much for me. Yeah, I don't like having debts and loans and cars to pay off. It's too much to keep track of. If I forget one payment, then there's a late fee. And if I forget something's coming out on the 20th and something just came out on the 18th and the money's not there, there's an overdraft fee.
right.
Too much. I can't handle it. I am so blessed that you are financially responsible and take that role seriously, and you don't take advantage of it. And you do what you can to maintain the household.
Well, I mean, have you been in relationships where people did take advantage of that? Like, have you been in a relationship where you gave up your income to somebody else to let them fucking handle everything? Like, is this a first for you? How? Because
This is a first
when
for
you
me.
were working, you were giving me what you were making, and it was all going into a joint account, and we were just paying the bills.
Yeah.
But when I asked you to stay home, that stopped. So, like,
Yeah, so this has never been a dynamic I've experienced.
why? Has that ever like even come up? Have you, like, because you were married before? Did you guys keep your finances separate? Like, how did that work?
I managed it.
So he gave you his money, and you handled everything.
Yeah. Or he would transfer me the money. Yeah, we never had a joint bank account. The level of trust that I have in you, I've never had with somebody before.
And why do you think that is?
Because they were also spenders, but they were spenders in a way that would, holy shit, I just blew $2,000. I can't make rent, but I can't tell her. And then I find out the day of, we are $400 short on rent, and we have nothing in savings. You have never done that. The fact that you are so on top of your money and that it stresses you out a little bit, I hate that it stresses you.
It
I really
stresses
do.
me out a lot.
I hate it. I hate that it stresses you so much. There's a reassurance in that, though, because I know that you're never going to fuck us over financially.
Right. For me, I think the stress comes down to is it's not just me.
Yeah.
Because I am I'm the head of our household. I make all of our major decisions. All of the financial decisions are mine. And everything that we do in terms of final decisions are mine. So, like, I have you and 2 kids that I have to worry about, but I also have, what are we at, like 22 employees right now? Something stupid like that. Like, there's a lot of
Yeah,
people
I
in
don't
there right
know
now.
the amount.
And then there's other factors. Like, I have AJ now that is kind of on payroll. Like, it's not just my life. If I drop the ball, there's a lot of people that are going to get fucked. And there's a lot of people looking to me to make sure that money continues to flow. So it's just, that's not an option. The idea of being a child it's not there for me.
Right.
First Bible verse I ever memorized was 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. When I was a child, I thought as a child, spoke as a child, understood as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. I had to do that at 13 years old. So that's never been an option. And even when I was poor and like poor, I still spent more than I should, but I always made money because in the event that I knew, rent was due and I didn't have it, I would sell drugs or I would do, foul shit to make my money.
Not saying that's how you should handle it.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not. But I understand why men do that shit because when you have to provide and you got a little one at home, sometimes you just have to risk it. You know what I mean? And I did. It's just all there is to that. And, it's one of those things that, like, I don't know. It's not just me. It's really what it comes down to. I don't have the luxury of fucking off and sitting at home all day playing video games and blowing every dime I get the moment it comes in because I do have so many people depending on me to make sure that their bills get paid.
So I want to take this in 2 separate directions. And the first direction we're going to take it is from your perspective as somebody who is financially responsible. What kind of advice would you give for people who are looking to find somebody to grow with them and have goals and meet them? Like, what are red flags to look out for before you getting to serious talk of marriage and spending life together.
Well, I mean, that does involve finances, but it doesn't come down to that.
Right. But in this financial aspect,
Well, I mean, like I said, that's hard though, because like when we got together, finances were not a consideration.
I'm sure if I was constantly asking you for money and blowing through your bank account, that would be an
If
issue.
you would
though.
have been asking me for money, we wouldn't have went to where we did. Because when you get to a level that I am, people have their hand out. I'm not giving you shit. Like, I will offer to do things when I want to, but like, I don't want anyone to ever ask me for anything. And when somebody asks and I do for them, I know that that relationship is over because they're not going to pay me back when they say they're going to, if at all. And like, it's never a good thing. Like I have people right now, I've probably got, I don't know, $50,000 in loans that are out that I'll never see that money again. So it's one of those things that like, and that's a very conservative number. It's probably a whole lot higher than that. But I know that, you know, at the time they needed it and I had it. So like my life obviously didn't get ruined by loaning it out.
Right.
But in terms of a relationship, like I am very concerned about women taking advantage of me, like as a single man. Like that was we talked about it a lot. And I disclosed my past and like the way that I saw the women who worked for my mom manipulate men and that whole thing. So you understood. But I just, so yeah, without getting into all of that, cause it's not really relevant, that's a very big prevalent thing for me. So in that scenario, I don't want anyone around me with their hand out. So let's say that, cause you asked me how does that look? Like damn, I don't even know how to answer this. It's not an easy question because it's so much more than finances.
Right. But this is just the financial aspect of things. So a red flag geared towards finances when you're in that dating phase starting to get serious
Would be you asking me for money.
So
and that doesn't, sorry, I am going to, because I will forget. It's not the same as like, hey, I need my wisdom teeth pulled and it's going to cost me $3,000. Like that's very different than I can't pay my rent. Cause you know, rent's coming. The wisdom teeth thing may come up on you.
Okay. So let's say there's a person, a man or a woman dating somebody, and that person once a week is asking for money for something. Can I have $50 for this? Can I have $60 to go to Sephora?
No, you can't.
When do you draw the line?
As soon as you ask.
Okay. Even if they're trying to woo the person.
I'm not doing that.
Okay.
I'll buy you dinner. I'll take you on dates so that we can enjoy our time together.
Have an experience together.
Right. But I'm not paying for your life. You know what I mean? Like that's marriage shit. You want money from me? We're going to be married and you're going to be a wife before you start getting those things from me. I'm not fucking doing for people. If you need me to finance your life, you don't have it. That tells me a lot about your character. If you need me to finance your Sephora trips and you to do all that shit, you don't have the ambition and the drive to keep up with me. You just don't. So let's look at this from that scenario to answer your question. When I see that, I know that long term you're going to have a problem with me working. I'm not going to be home enough. You're not going to be able to keep up when things get hard and stressful and I'm fucking going through it. You're not going to be able to support me. And I don't mean financially. You're not going to be able to talk me through things because you don't understand the grind. You probably have a minimum wage job or you don't know how to manage your money. So you're working a high-end job and you're fucking broke because you got a car you can't afford, an apartment you can't afford, fucking credit card debt out the ass, loans on furniture or whatever it is that you have. That tells me a lot about who you are as a person. If you have to ask me for $50-$60 a week, like you're broke. Either that or you just want to spend my money. And both of those are a fucking problem.
Right. I agree with all of that. So next red flag. Let's say a couple has been dating for 2 years. They're past that obsession phase. Things are still going good. But one of them starts spending money rather frivolously without discussion.
Are they living together?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's say wife has started spending $100 every time she goes to Target. And Target's at least once a week. But it's not something that's been discussed like, hey, babe, I'm going to start doing this. I want to have an increase in my spending budget. I need more self-care time, whatever. That discussion did not happen. She just starts charging up the joint account.
Is she working?
Yes. Yes, she's working. But they have an allocated amount that they're spending.
So they're on a budget.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that the lack of communication's there, and she's now fucking up how bills get paid, and that's a problem. That's a problem.
Right.
There's a communication breakdown. Like there's a whole lot of other issues there. In that scenario, she's doing for her and putting the family at risk, and that's where the issue comes in. It's not the spending, because, I mean, that's $400 a month.
Yeah.
I can afford that, right? Like you could do that once a week. It wouldn't be a big deal.
Can't.
I get that. But if I couldn't afford that, or in the event that I've got payroll, mortgage, 2 car payments, rent for the studio, and insurance payment that's due because I pay that in full every 6 months when they come up for both the car and the shop, right? So now there's like $37,000 or $38,000 that's got to come out of the account this month. And I tell you like, hey, we don't have money this week. Like I need you to slow the fuck down on spending for like a week or two until I can recoup what's going out so that I have that cushion to feel better. And you go to Target immediately and check out $500. That's a fucking problem. Like you don't respect me. You don't respect our household. You don't respect the decision making.
You don't care about the bills.
Right. You're showing me that all you care about in that moment is your ability to have self-care where you spend money, because self-care doesn't have to be expensive.
Right.
You know, you could go sit on the beach and fucking dig your toes in the sand for 2 hours by yourself listening to an audiobook, and that don't cost you shit other than the gas to get there. And I've already budgeted gas. So like,
right.
You got a credit card specifically for gas. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like,
so going off of that same scenario, let's say they've had this lifestyle where she can spend that money and it's never been an issue. But then they hit hard times. He's getting cut back hours on work. There's no more overtime, whatever's happening. She's still working the same amount of hours, but his are cut back. She still goes out and spends that money, and they've had that first conversation of like, babe, you're kind of putting us in a rough spot right now. I need you to slow down on the spending.
this is where problems start.
Okay. So how would you handle that second conversation?
Well, I got to be honest, I would be petty. In that first scenario where I've been like, look, we don't have the money this month. Like, we're fucking broke. And they continue to do that. And that $400 is our power bill. I'm going to let the power get shut off.
Okay.
I can sleep in my car. Like, I've been homeless. I lived on top of a Walmart for 6 months of my life. Like, I spent 3 years on the streets. To sleep in my car is not that big of a fucking deal. I have AC and a heater in that bitch. Like, I'm not worried about that. There's kids here, obviously. So in our scenario, I couldn't do that. But in an event where it was just a couple, I would let the power get shut off. And when they're like, how come the power got shut off? And because I told you not to spend that fucking money and you did. That was the power bill. So I'm glad your Target runs were enjoyable. Now we have to worry about making that $400 back in order to pay the power bill. And until we do, we're not going to have power. I would make sure that I'm able to turn that power back on, but I would let it get turned off to prove a point.
Yeah. I would do that too. I agree with that.
Because it really drives the point, you know, especially here in Florida. Or like if the food in the refrigerator goes bad and we're eating ramen for the next 3 weeks, like, you know, or I'd have to pull it out of the grocery money and be like, cool, well, we're eating ramen for the rest of the month because I have to pull that out of our grocery funds. Like, that's a conversation. Like, it needs to be had and it needs to be driven in a way that is going to solidify that fucking point to let you know that this is not a joke. Like, if I say don't spend the money because we don't have it and you're trusting me to handle the finances, we don't fucking have the money, you need to listen.
Right.
Don't go put it on credit cards because you're making debt that I now have to pay interest on, you know, on top of the money that you're spending. You said something earlier that I wanted to touch on, and I want to go back to it, and I can't remember what it was, but I didn't want to interrupt because you kept making points. There was do you remember when your truck battery died? And you called and you were like, my fucking battery's dead.
Yes.
And I stopped. I was like, you got jumper cables? And you were like, nope. And I'm like, okay. And on my way there, because I had jumper cables in the car. But on the way there, I stopped at the auto parts store and grabbed you like a $25 set of jumper cables to keep in your vehicle. And when I got there, I showed you how to use them, showed you how to jump the car. We jumped your car and you took it to the auto parts store and got a battery and did the thing. That was me. I did that. I didn't ask you for money. I didn't ask you if you needed me to buy you jumper cables. That's the difference between doing for somebody and being asked. If you were like, my car battery's dead, can you buy me a car battery? That shows me that you're using me at that point. Can you come jump my car? Is I need help. You see how the difference in that? Right. So had you asked me to buy you a car battery, that would have created a bias in my mind towards you. But you didn't. You just needed your car jumped so you could get to work. And then you could buy your own battery. Like, you were just stuck. And knowing that you didn't have jumper cables and me wanting to make sure that you were able to not be stuck again, I bought you jumper cables. It's $25-$30. It wasn't a big deal.
Right.
So that, I think, falls into our earlier conversation, and that's what I wanted to touch on.
Okay. Another scenario.
Okay.
How would you handle that same person who is frivolously spending, not caring about the budget, doesn't care if bills aren't being made, hit you with, well, you always figure it out? How would that continue down the line? Because that's not sustainable if they continue to blow through money and your life is getting turned upside down.
That would effectively end whatever is going on.
Okay.
I there's just that level of stress is too much, and you're supposed to be there as a team. Mm-hmm. And if one person is struggling mentally and like is not able to keep up, and you're intentionally making that load heavier, you're not a team. You're showing that person that you don't give a fuck about their stress levels or their workload or the weight they're carrying. Like, you don't give a shit about them at all, because the weight of the world is on their shoulders, and you're just stacking plates on there.
Right.
You know.
So say they're renting a place together and they can only afford it with their combined income. Would you then start looking for a roommate and say, if you don't get your spending under control, I'm going to have you're going to have to move out in 60 days?
No. I don't know. That's a difficult thing, because to break a lease, you're paying you're paying months. Right. It's not easy to just break a lease. So that's difficult. You know what I mean? In that scenario, depending on what my credit looks like, I would just bail. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, look, I've warned you twice now. You're starting to fuck with my mental health, and like, I don't have to do this. I'm leaving. And I would leave.
Okay.
Because it's going to be easier for me to start over. If my credit's already shot, it doesn't matter. Now, if I'm holding an 800 credit score and she doesn't, and she's not paying her half of the rent, then she's going to have to go. Like, because I'm not fucking my credit up because she's not, you know what I mean? But I also I also, as a man, am not going to put myself in a position to get into some place that I need another person. Mm-hmm. I'm not. That's foolish. If you have two people that make $10,000 a month and your rent payment's $3,000, that's a third of your rent. Mm-hmm. Like, can you afford that on your own? Because if you don't have that second person there and you're only making $5,000 a month and your rent's $3,000, you got a car payment that's $500 with insurance, like, you're going to be fucking living paychecks to paycheck.
Right.
I wouldn't do that. In that scenario where we're looking for a place together, I would be mentally going, okay, we need to be at like $2,000 or less, mm-hmm. so that I can afford to pay all my shit in the event that something goes wrong. If you
fail to plan.
Yes, you're planning to fail. Jesus Christ, why was that so hard to say?
I think it's just the way the brain's wired.
I guess my brain's just not doing it today, because I'm now thinking about all these fucking scenarios.
Yeah.
That is, you're setting yourself up for failure, mm-hmm. because every relationship you've ever had up until the one that you're in right now has failed. Yep. So the likelihood of this one failing, unless you're fucking married and dedicated and doing the life thing, is really fucking high. Mm-hmm. The longer you're with that person, the more that decreases. The more you build a life together, the more that number decreases. There's other factors that actually play a part in that. But I'm not putting myself in a position where I'm going to end up screwed over in the long run. I'm just not.
Right.
If I didn't have this house and I didn't have my own place, and you had an apartment and you were like, you can come live with me, like in your apartment with your two kids. When you had your kids, you had a 2-bedroom. Mm-hmm. That would have lasted for maybe 6 months. Like, there's no way that I could have stayed in that spot, because my pride's not going to allow me to mooch off of a woman.
Right.
And I don't care how sexist that sounds. My ego's not going to have that. I would be choking on my pride. It's going to be very fucking hard to swallow that down. I just can't do that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh.
What did I say earlier that the window was going to cost?
I think you said like $1,000.
$934.04 to do the window and the light.
All right. So we're going to go back to the dating phase.
Okay.
Would you say you went on a date with someone, this is the third date, and you find out, like, subtly that they have gambling issues?
I'm not going to continue dating that person.
You would just cut it off?
I mean, I play poker.
Right.
So, like, what kind of addiction are we talking about? Like, do you enjoy playing gambling, or are you blowing your fucking rent hoping that you can pay it by making money gambling? Because it's two different things. So, I'm not fucking with anybody that's got an addiction.
Yeah.
How about that?
Okay.
Like, real shit. Like, if you have a true addiction, I can't be around you, because I've beat my addictions, mm-hmm. and I have a whole lot of life goals, and you being caught up in your habits And your addictive behavior and your inability to control your urges is going to fuck my life up.
Right.
I'm not getting involved in that. And it doesn't matter if it's been a year or 2 years. Wouldn't matter if it's 5 years. Like, you start doing shit that's going to fuck my life up.
I'm good.
Yeah, there's a problem. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, if you love your person and you've been married for 10 years and you see that something that you're doing is really starting to affect them, if you truly love them, you would stop that.
Right.
Before it really becomes a fucking problem. And if you don't, it's because you're selfish or you have your other issues going on or whatever the case may be. Or maybe you're just not fucking in love anymore. And you're just, having love, because there's a fucking difference.
Right.
That's a whole other set of issues there. But I'm not fucking with anybody that's got an addiction.
Okay.
I'm just not.
I don't remember what I was going to say.
Well, you asked about
Okay,
gambling.
hypothetical gambling, yeah. So she's super stoked because she just won $15,000. And you're like, hell yeah, that's so dope. And she was like, yeah, I go 4 nights a week, and this is the first time I've won something this big.
Right.
Is that a red flag for you that she's gambling 4 nights a week?
Well, I mean, it would depend on what she's doing. If she's playing roulette, yeah.
Okay.
If she's playing poker, no.
Would you, expand a little bit further? Would you,
inquiring
questions?
I would absolutely inquire. I would ask how, what are you doing? Are you playing Texas Hold'em? If you're playing Texas Hold'em, what are the buy-ins? How often do you leave with money? Because if the buy-in's $300 and you're leaving with no money every fucking night, or you're at least not making your buy-in back, that's a problem, because you're just wasting money. You know what I mean? You're throwing money to the casino or to whatever you're doing.
So you wouldn't just glaze over that?
No, because I understand poker.
Yeah.
But if they're like, I'm going to the bar 4 nights a week and getting fucking drunk and like shit-faced drunk, the money aspect alone of that, $100, $200 a night at the bar, that's a problem for me.
Okay.
Not to mention the issue that I have with women going to the bar by themselves when they're in a relationship.
Right. So anything that someone is sinking money into that they do not get a return on is a problem for you.
Anytime you don't get a return on investment in anything, it's a problem. You shouldn't be doing anything that's not going to benefit you.
Right.
How does this serve me? Yeah.
I know you hate the long pauses, but I'm thinking.
That's fine. I'll cut it. When we're having a back and forth and there's that long pause and we're just staring at each other, I get uncomfortable. Like you're waiting for me to say something. So I just keep talking. And then you get mad at me because I won't shut the fuck up. Because I'm a talker.
Well, it's good to know that you feel that way. I'll stop doing the long lookings. Look elsewhere like I am now.
You just tell me, I got to process this. And I'm like, I know that's
a good
not
idea.
you waiting for me to speak.
I should verbalize that. I'm currently processing.
I'm going to say some unpopular shit.
Okay.
I believe that it is a man's duty to pay for a date when he goes out on a date with a woman.
You've said that a lot.
I know, and it's unpopular. And every time I say it, there's somebody in the comments going, "I'm not fucking paying for a woman's dinner. She should pay for herself. They want equal rights." Blah 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 blah.
You're
blah.
part of the problem if you feel that way.
Well, and that there's a whole lot of discussions that can be had about that. But when it comes down to it, I'm going to pay for dinner. I'm going to pay for dinner when I go out with my friends.
Right, that's what a true gentleman does.
Right. And I don't want anyone to ever be like, well, you owe me dinner. I paid for your last dinner. You owe me dinner. And we went to McDonald's and now you want sushi or you want fucking a steakhouse. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want anything ever hung over my head. So for a woman who says that when I go to dinner, I will only pay for myself, I won't let him pay because I don't want there to be an obligation. I can understand if that's a thing for them.
Right.
But I'm also not dating women like that. That's not my type of woman. If I'm having a conversation and I'm in the courting phase and I invite you to dinner, I'm going to know the type of person you are. And if you're that type of person that is just that adamant, I don't need no man, I'm an independent woman, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't want that. That's not the type of woman I'm attracted to. That's not wife material. If you were that way when we started dating and you wouldn't let me pay for something if I was trying to pay for it, I would have a problem with that.
Right.
And I know that we went to the movies and shit in the beginning and I'd make you buy your own movie ticket or something like that. But when we went to dinner, I paid for our dinners. So I believe that a man should pay. And I also believe that if you're courting a woman and you can't afford to pay for those dinners and you can't afford to do that, you're showing her that you're not capable of providing.
Yeah, you're not a adequate provider.
Right. And I think subconsciously that's the reason why I pay for dates, because I'm fat. Obviously I like to eat. So I have an abundance. I'm not living check to check. So, I believe that men should be paying for their dates. If you're taking somebody to dinner, you should be paying for it. And if you can't afford to do that, you should be taking them on free dates. You shouldn't go on a date if you need a woman to pay for your food.
Yeah.
And I don't give a shit what anybody says. I don't care if you disagree with it or not. That's the way I feel about it. And if you feel differently, that's cool. You can do that.
You're entitled to your
I
opinion.
don't have to agree with you, right?
Yeah. So every scenario that I just asked you can, because a lot of it was centered around women who are spenders.
Yeah.
Men can be spenders just as much, going out and buying things for their car, hunting equipment,
Computer parts, firearms.
fishing equipment,
Yep.
actually just going out and buying cars.
What's trying to say?
You're efficient with it. I know dudes out there who will go and spend money on a car that they don't have, and now they have a $400 or $500 a month car payment, and they can't handle it because they wanted the flashy car.
I would love to have a $500 a month car payment.
Yeah.
Would love to have a $500 a month car payment. I haven't had a car payment under $800 in probably the last 13 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, when you buy luxury cars,
Yeah.
you have a high car payment.
So men can be frivolous spenders. They could be spending more money on alcohol than they are on the bills. All of that is an issue. If you are on a date with a man and he is talking about how he goes out and drinks every single night, you should expect that he's spending at least $100 a night on alcohol.
Yeah.
If that is an issue that you will have while married, recognize that now, because he's not going to change his habits he's already had for 10 years. And you should account that you're going to have $700 a month. $700 a week missing because he's doing that. So you're going to have to make up, $2,800 a month?
Well, I mean, if he's already doing that when you get with him, you're not going to have to make up anything because that's his life.
Yeah.
He's already budgeted and he's able to do that. The difference in that scenario, in my opinion, is that in that scenario, he would have to either stop doing that or he would have to start making more money to provide for her. Mm-hmm. I know that it's not popular to say that you're supposed to support your woman financially, but I believe that if you have the means or you have the strong back and the work ethic and you're able to start making more money for your family, you should. When you have a woman and you have kids, you shouldn't be skating by. You should be making moves to posture for the future so you can fucking retire one day and give a life to your woman and your kids. And you should leave something behind so that your grandkids have a leg up.
Right.
Because if you do really well in life, let's say you have a kid in your 20s and you do really fucking good in life and you raise your child to be a good human being, you raise your child and you spoil your grandkids. Because otherwise you're going to spoil your kids and raise your grandkids.
Yep.
So let's say you raise your children. You have a Roth IRA or a 401k that pays out $2 to $3 million when you retire, and everything that you already own is paid for, and you're able to live off the interest, and you have all the toys that you want because you've been responsible with your money and like navigating those waters. Mm-hmm. You can open a trust, put everything that you own in a trust, and in the event that you die, you can leave everything to your grandkid. And when your grandkid turns 18 years old, they have a leg up. You know what I mean? You can even put stipulations in the trust. Like if you have $3 million, they get $30,000 at 18 years old. They get another deposit when they're 21, another deposit at 25, and the rest when they're 30. Mm-hmm. Because you're a very different spender at 30 than you are at 20.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like blowing through that first $30,000 at 18 like that, because you will blow through 30 grand at 18 in a day. You're gonna hit a mall. You will be broke by the time you leave the fucking mall. But you're creating generational wealth and you are actually leaving a legacy behind. You know what I mean? Your grandkid is going to talk about you to their kids. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. Legacy matters to me. I think about that a lot. Our podcast is going to be our legacy.
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot too.
Because even if we were to die tomorrow, this is going to be on the internet indefinitely.
Yeah.
Unless YouTube goes down, but it's owned by Google, which is owned by Alphabet Inc. It's not fucking going anywhere. Like, YouTube is a staple. It's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. So we could be on the internet for 100 years having these conversations.
That's crazy to think about.
Yep.
I hope people still get value from this in 100 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope that in 100 years, the things that we're talking about is so common, people will watch this and go, why are they on the internet talking about the normal shit that we do every day? Like,
Wouldn't
isn't
that be
this just
amazing?
common? It would be.
That would be amazing. The
Yeah.
world would be a different place.
Yeah, it would.
I pray for that.
Yeah.
I hope we're part of the reason that happens.
Yeah. How do you think that people should navigate waters? Because I got to be honest, as much as I enjoy the finance conversation, it does make me uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Because as much as I want to talk and say shit, like I don't want to put too much of my business out there, like in terms of our money and shit. And I just,
okay.
They asked in Discord to talk about, everything was good and you built a life on that facade. And if things get really hard and you end up broke, the people around you who came in when you're rich are going to leave. And if the people that are around you when you're super fucking broke, those are the ones who truly love you because they can't benefit from you.
Right.
So if these people in Discord have money and they're getting into relationships and times get tough, like COVID, people were losing their jobs and businesses and shit. Rooster lost his entire fucking everything. You really learn who your friends are in those moments.
Yeah.
And it's even more so when it comes to your partner. Like if you have somebody that's willing to live in a car with you and truly suffer and be broke, it's very different than when you've got, $100,000 in savings and life is just, good. You don't have to worry about what it's going to cost to fill your tank up. You don't have to worry about your car payment. You don't have to worry about insurance. Like you don't ever worry about money because you've got it. When you have to worry about that on top of everything else that you've got to deal with, it is a very stressful situation.
Yeah.
So for the people that have that financial stress where they're living paycheck to paycheck and they're finding themselves in constant conflict, you have to ask yourself where the conflict is coming from. Because as a species, we have a hard time with delayed gratification. And the advent of social media and Amazon Prime and DoorDash and Instacart, that has just gotten less prevalent because you can get everything same day delivery now. You don't have to leave your house. Every all of your communications at the touch of your fingers. You can get new movies without leaving your living room. Like everything is mainstream to the consumer.
Comfort.
So when you have somebody that is very used to getting what they want right fucking now, and then money gets tight and that has to be dialed back and you have to force the delayed gratification.
It's a life change.
It is a life change, and it creates a whole lot of stress and a whole lot of drama for both people involved because one person handling the finances while the other person is out of the loop, because most people, when they hand over finances, once they realize their partner is able to take care of the finances, they don't look at them anymore. They know they're taken care of. They don't have to worry about it. You're going to find yourself arguing and fighting about a whole lot of things that you would otherwise not be fighting about because the money is just not there. Money is not the root of all evil. I don't believe that it is. I think it's the lack of money is the root of all evil. And I think that people's greed and the love of money is the root of all evil, because people will do some really, really foul shit to make a dollar.
Yeah.
But I do believe that the root cause of a lot of relationship problems for young people is a lack of finances.
It really blows my mind that there are some people out there who just give up the financials and then never talk about it.
Yeah.
Because we talk about our finances at least once a day.
Well, I talk about it all the time because I stress about them constantly and I need to process this shit, and talking to you about it helps me do so.
It makes me feel like I'm still in the loop.
Yeah.
I have access to all the bank accounts, so I can see what money is where.
Right.
And I can see where it's going to.
But you still don't spend without asking me first.
No, I don't. Because you know where everything is going.
Right.
I know what kind of credit cards we have and roughly how much money is being moved, but I don't know the logistics of everything. So if I want to go and spend $400, but you have that $400 planned for a bill in 2 days, I'm not trying to screw that up.
Right.
So,
well, and right now so it's just, I guess, because this conversation is relevant. Right now, that is how it's working. I have been taking everything that we've made over the last 3 months and paying down credit card debt.
Yeah.
And I have 3 credit cards left with a balance on them. So like I have paid down a fuck ton of debt over the last 3 months, and I want that gone. So every time we have extra money, I'm paying a credit card with it. So if at the end of the day, because the tattoo industry is a daily cash thing, if I make $1,000 and I have $200 in my money clip so that I know that we have emergency cash in the event that we need it, the next morning I'm going to the bank, I'm putting $1,000 to make, and I'm paying a credit card. Right. So for you to go, hey, I want to spend $500 on clothes, I need money, I'm like, okay, just give me a day or two. Like I have to plan for that.
right.
If we had to budget based off of like the YouTube money and the Instagram or TikTok money and like all of that shit, like that would be a very different conversation, because you know that we get those deposits on certain days.
Right.
So if it was the 22nd and I had already moved all the money from YouTube and you were like, I want to spend $1,000 on something, but you're gonna have to wait until the 1st when we take the Patreon money, because that money's gone. Like I've already paid credit cards with it. That respect that you have in me for doing that, asking me about money instead of just spending it because it is your money too, allows me to handle the finances in a way that we're not stressed out.
Right.
You always get what you want. Always. I've said no to you about one thing ever, and it was a plant because I didn't want it on the kitchen counter.
Yep.
Had you been like, I want to put it somewhere else, I'd have been like, cool, get the fucking plant. I don't want it on the kitchen counter. Like, that was where my issue was. But I also do shit and buy you stuff. Sorry, this is about that window thing. I don't remember what I was saying. Adam asked me if he wanted me to pay for that on a Square invoice like normal. And I told him I'm just going to pay cash for it when he does the install. He said, okay, so that'll be getting done Monday.
Okay.
So the light, we will be done. That room will be done on Monday. That's fucking exciting. I am stoked.
That is pretty dope.
The only thing that we won't have is the rug and any prints that we decide to hang up. But the furniture will be in there, so then we can decide how we want to move about the prints. Doing canvas prints like these, I mean, in reality, we could probably just pull these down. Because
and move them in there.
Yeah, the only thing they're doing is helping the sound out here, but the sound in there is so much worse.
Yeah.
So
I don't remember what we were talking about.
I don't either.
The last thing I remember you saying was you appreciate how I respect the fun, so you can do what you need to do.
Right. Well, yeah. Okay. So that was what I was saying, is that the way that you respect the process that I have allows me to handle our finances without there being a whole lot of stress. And because it is your money, especially when it comes to the podcast, this is ours. It's not mine. And you have your own TikTok fund coming, and I have my TikTok fund, and all of that money goes into one bank account. It all goes under our S corp. So like it's a business at this point. Your clothes, technically, if you wanted to buy clothes, are a write-off for the business because you're buying them for the podcast, so you look presentable on the podcast. Like, you can write that shit off on your taxes.
That's dope.
But the point in that was that you could be like, well, that's my money and I want to spend it. Well, it's our money, and when Google has it and it's not in the bank account, I can't fucking spend it. So you can want all you want. The money's not here yet. And you can be super difficult towards me because I didn't plan for you to spend that money, or you can be understanding like you are and be like, okay, cool, it's going to be next week. I can go ahead and get my list together and have it ready to go, or I can just wait and see how much money he gives me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That shit goes a long way. It shows that you are understanding and that it's not about you, it's about us. Because even though you want something, you understand that delayed gratification.
Right.
I really want a Mercedes. And I'm in a position where realistically I probably could have bought one. I mean, I could have bought one last year, but like I probably could have made it work a month ago if I really wanted to. But I don't want to put myself in a position where long term I'm going to regret the purchase. So like I'm really putting it off. And like today we were talking like maybe even buying a used one and just having a third vehicle because I'm used to having 3 cars. But I don't want to do that either because long term that doesn't make sense. Like if I have a third vehicle, most of the time it just sits in the driveway or I loan it out. The last 4 months that I had that Infinity, Steve drove it more than I did.
Right.
Because I was in love with my Jeep and I wanted to drive my Jeep everywhere. So I don't know. It's not really relevant to anything.
I can't remember what the main topic we were talking about was because we moved on from my topic.
We were supposed to be talking about the conflict and drama that comes when people are broke and are not able to handle their finances. Which I don't really have much more to say on that because there's a whole lot of what if scenarios. And because I'm not living in that situation, it's hard for me to have that conversation. You know what I mean? Like there's so many, if it was a specific scenario to someone's life and they wanted me to discuss it, I would need the details.
Right.
So that I can what if scenario that. But because it was such a broad topic, I don't live that life. It's hard for me to say anything other than I realize that it's stressful because, that can be a big problem for a lot of people.
Yeah, our money has not been the best since the hurricane. And there was a point where you were super stressed out, but it didn't cause any issues between us.
No. Well, I was stressed out and like went into panic mode and sold a bunch of shit and like started downsizing life and like was panicking, expecting the worst. And it didn't become the worst. It became a problem, but we were able to bounce back from it pretty quick. But that comes down to being proactive. Like, if your money's not right, like you need to do the things to make sure that it is. I don't know.
I have nothing else to say.
I really don't either. We're 50 minutes in. This is not going to be even a full hour on this topic. Do you want to do another one and make it a little bit longer, or do you want to just call it a day and go on to a podcast, like an email?
Yeah, let's just move on to an email.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, there was a short one, under an hour. I think that's the second time we've ever done this under an hour. They've always been longer than that. You know, we also got to redo the 40 questions list.
Oh, we do.
But maybe we'll wait and do that for the reactions video.
Once we get the room set up?
Yeah. Well, that channel's almost to 1,000. We're at like 950, but we're like 2,000 hours away from being able to monetize. And I don't want to monetize it, like start putting a ton of content over there until we can monetize that channel. So, but yeah, let's move on to some emails. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. If you're listening to this on a Friday, Monday, we do premieres.
We do.
And if you are not on Patreon, you are missing out. We have a Discord channel over there and a whole lot of content and live streams and
a lot of shenanigans.
It is, yeah. It's a lot of fun over there. And it's only $15 a month, so you're spending a whole 50 cents a day. It's not the end of the world to do that.
Yep.
When you go to Starbucks and they ask if you want to donate your change, tell them no, because that's going to pay for our Patreon.
Yeah.
Get some. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye, guys.
Hey, guys, if you enjoyed that, found it entertaining, funny, or even learned something you didn't know before, share it. And if you're not subscribed, why aren't you? And for those of you who want to support us, get access to exclusive content and live streams, we do have a Patreon. All the links are in the description.